So let's say from 1 minute and 10 seconds to 1 minute and 15 seconds, that's an area that we want to remove. That is something where we misspoke, or just something that just doesn't need to be there. We can tighten it up just by removing that. What I'm going to do first is make sure that neither of these are selected. If you see the yellow, these golden bars around each asset, that means it's selected. I'm just going to click over here in some dead space on the canvas and make sure that neither are selected. Next, I'm going to move this red line. I'm going to call that the scrubber. I'm going to put that the 1 minute and 10 second mark. You can also just click anywhere in the timeline in this gray bar here to immediately jump to that point. And so now that I know this is the first part of this 5-second area that I want to remove, with neither selected and with the scrubber at the right place, I'm going to hit the letter T, and that splits the clips. And you'll see, because I had neither selected, it split both of them in the exact same place. So I can see that if I select this one, it does not select the rest of the clip. These are two separate clips, as are these two. So now we have 4 independent clips that we're working with here. Now I'm going to go to the end of this section that I want to remove. I'm going to make sure I'm clicking into this dead space to deselect anything down here. I'm going to hit T again, and again that splits the clips down here. And so now I've isolated this entire area, and I can select both, and I can hit delete, and that area is completely gone. And now we just have a 5-second gap of dead air in the middle of the video. So the next step that we'll want to do is remove this dead air, or this gap. And the easiest way to do this is to right click in that area and hit close gap. And you have to do it for each independently. Close gap. And so now we have a nice quick edit where it just goes from one to another. You'll want to watch that transition and make sure that it's not too jarring for you. You'll want to play it back and make sure you're not interrupting a sentence or a word. It's usually best to try to cut these things off at the end of a complete sentence or before a complete sentence. But in this case, I'm not going to worry about it too much. There are some other ways in which you can remove that gap. I could simply just click and drag, and it'll kind of lock into place. Once I get close, it'll be kind of sticky. I can do that with this one. And I could also, if I move the scrubber to the very beginning, this is a technique that if you have a lot of other assets that are on the timeline and you don't want to disturb the timing of those assets, you might want to use this red scrubber. So before, when we just hit the close gap, or we just dragged it to stick in there, we were fixing the gap independently on each line. And you'll see, because I dragged that, it is now out of sync with this screen recording. And of course it's easy to fix that one because I can just drag it. But if you have a more complex Screenflow file with other things on different timelines or different layers, something you should consider is using this red scrubber. And if you grab this down at the bottom here, click and hold, you can drag both at the same time. And so I'm just going to drag here. The only downfall with this particular method is you don't get that sticky kind of lock into place that you'll feel with either the closing the gap or just dragging it. And so it's very easy to overshoot where you want to drag it. And so you have to be pretty precise and make sure that you get it right where you want to be, and there's no space in between the clips. Otherwise, you'll get a frame or two of dead air. But it looks like we've successfully removed 5 seconds, and we can play it back, and it looks pretty good. So that is how to remove an error.